Have you ever wondered if plants can, talk to each other? Not with words, obviously, but maybe with the kind of silent language all their own? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're diving into a fascinating plant detective story to see if we can actually hear a plant crying for help long before we can see that it's in trouble. And our story, well, it begins at a crime scene.
So take a look at this. On the left, you've got a perfectly healthy, happy eggplant. But on the right, well, that's our crime scene. This eggplant has been attacked, its fruit completely ruined from the inside out. But what if, and this is the big question, what if that plant was sending out an SOS signal way before any of this visible damage happened? That's the mystery we're here to solve. You know, every good detective story needs a villain. And in this case, our prime suspect is a tiny but absolutely devastating insect.
Meet the fruit borer. Now, the real culprits here are the larvae of this moth. They burrow deep inside the eggplant's fruit and shoots, and they just eat them from the inside. This makes the damage nearly impossible to spot until it is way too late, which causes huge financial losses for farmers. And of course, that impacts our food supply.
So, how do you catch a thief who does all their work in secret? Well, you don't look for them, you listen for the alarm they set off. Scientists started to wonder if plants send out a kind of chemical alarm, a unique SOS signal when they're being attacked.
And this is really the central question of our whole investigation. Could an eggplant be, in a sense, chemically screaming for help while it still looks perfectly fine on the outside? To figure that out, you're going to need a very special kind of listening device.
And that device is a field of science called metabolomics. Okay, think of it like this. Every living thing has a unique chemical fingerprint. It's made up of thousands of these tiny molecules called metabolites. Metabolomics lets scientists analyze this fingerprint and see exactly how it changes when a plant is stressed or under attack. It's basically how we can listen in on its silent chemical conversation.
All right, now that we have our tool, let's step inside the crime lab. This is where our plant detectives take all the clues left behind by the pest and start analyzing them to crack the case. The whole process really breaks down into 3 key steps you see here. First, they have to prepare the evidence. Second, they extract all the chemical clues. And third, they analyze those clues to find our smoking gun. Let's dig into that first step. Step 1, the peel. So scientists carefully sliced off the outer peel from both the healthy and the infected eggplants. Now, why the peel? Well, it's the plant's first line of defense, right? So it's probably where the most dramatic chemical changes, those distress signals, are going to be found. Then, for step 2, they take that peel, grind it up, and use a special solvent to pull out all those tiny metabolites. What they get is a liquid sample, basically a chemical soup that has every single clue they need to solve this whole case. And finally, step 3, they inject this sample into an incredible machine called a gas chromatography mass spectrometer, or GCMS for short. The best way to think about this thing is as a super sensitive electronic nose. It literally sniffs the sample, separates out every single chemical, and identifies it with pinpoint accuracy. This is where the secrets start to come out. So, after all that work, what did the detectives find? What did those chemical fingerprints from the healthy and the infected plants actually tell them? This right here is the breakthrough. And here is the first massive clue they uncovered. On the left, the healthy plant's chemical fingerprint was pretty complex. They found 121 different metabolites. But look at the infected plant on the right. Its fingerprint was way simpler, with only 78. This proved the attack was fundamentally changing the plant's entire chemistry. So, how in the world did the scientists pinpoint the specific SOS signal? Well, instead of getting lost in all those hundreds of unique chemicals, they did something really smart. They focused on just the 6 chemicals that were present in both the healthy and the infected plants. And by comparing the levels of these 6, they could finally isolate the plant's true alarm call. And this is where they found them, the 2 smoking guns. They discovered one key chemical that the infected plant started shouting. Its levels just shot way up, acting as a clear defense signal. At the exact same time, another chemical was being whispered. Its levels dropped way down, probably because the plant was busy diverting energy to fight off the attacker. This change, this shout and this whisper, that was the SOS they were looking for all along. I mean, this is absolutely incredible science. But what does it all mean for us, in the real world? Why does finding these 2 little chemical clues actually matter so much? Well, this discovery could completely change the future of farming. Just imagine sensors out in the field that act like plant translators, constantly listening for these specific chemical SOS signals. Farmers would get an alert the moment a pest attacks, letting them treat just one plant or one small area, long before an entire crop is ruined. And without having to blanket entire fields with pesticides, it's a game changer.
And that leaves us with one final, just fascinating question. We started this whole detective story asking if we could hear a plant cry for help. And it turns out the answer is a resounding yes. So if we can do this for an eggplant, what other silent conversations are happening all around us? What other secrets are plants just waiting for us to finally hear?